Raise your fist together. I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody.
Red and yellow, brown, black, and white. We're all precious in God's sight. Everybody, somebody. Stop the violence. Save the children. Stop bullying. Save the children.
Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. You can make it. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
Good morning. My name is Rufus Williams. I host a show on WVON, The Morning Show. We are here at Rainbow Push headquarters to talk about a tragic situation that took place just a few weeks ago. 96 shots, 41 seconds. The loss of the life of young Dexter Reed. We have joining us this morning his coach from Westinghouse High School and his attorney. Let's begin here. Andrew M. Stroth, talk about what happened to Dexter.
First of all, thanks for having me here, and I appreciate Rainbow Push and everything they've done for our community over all these decades. And Reverend Jackson, here today is the family of Dexter Reed, his mother, his father, his uncle, his sister's coming. And what happened on March 21st was unimaginable. 5 plainclothes officers wearing baseball hats and hoodie pulled over Dexter Reed without cause or provocation, without any constitutional rights, pulled Dexter over, did not announce themselves as police, were not marked with police uniforms, pulled him over, stopped him, and then within moments what you see is a barrage of shots, 96 shots, 41 seconds. And then what you see, and this family watched in horror, Dexter Reed laying against his car and shot an additional 3 times. And this is not an isolated incident. The city of Chicago has a pattern and practice of using tactical units to terrorize black folks in the west and south sides of Chicago.
Well, when we get into that and talk about what happened here, many of us have seen the video that came out fairly soon after the shooting. And it's important to understand why and how that came out and kind of what the pretext was for the alleged stop of the automobile.
So the officers stated that there was a seatbelt violation, and what we know based on the facts in the video is there's no way they could have seen inside that vehicle. There's no way there was a seatbelt violation. So it was a pretextual, racist, and unconstitutional stop. So it started bad, the middle was 96 shots, and then at the end you see him shot and killed. And so these units use a pretext to try to pull people over, and it was a young group of officers without training, without much experience that caused the tragic and unjustified death of the family's son, Dexter Reed.
It's important here to really understand this was a young man. This is a brother, this is a son, this is a person. You mentioned the family, and we're all so sorry for your loss. We have joining us Portia Banks, his sister. Portia, good morning.
Good morning.
Can you tell us about Dexter?
Dexter was a phenomenal young man. He was very different as a brother, you know, as a younger brother. He was a younger brother, but he really was like an older brother to me, you know. He was always 10 toes on his feet, very well-mannered, and just, he was real smart. And what happened to Dexter is like a tragedy, you know. And they said that when it happened to Laquan McDonald, that rules was changed and different things was applied to the streets, but it seems that what's going on is not going to stop unless someone actually put a change to it. The tactical unit They do this every day to people, and it really should be stopped. But Dexter, man, he was everything, you know. He was a young, brave young man. He liked his school. He really just, yeah, he was everything. You know, I keep saying it, but it's a sad situation, and I'm not understanding how they just keep doing this, you know, back to back. Mothers have to keep losing their sons, you know, to the same situation of police constantly killing young black men. I'm just...
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation that's been going on for much too long. And you point out Laquan McDonald, which was one of the first situations where much of what had been said came to light because the video was there, just as people were able to see in your brother's killing. I want to introduce Coach Corey, who came to know him during his formative years. Tell us more about Dexter, the young man who you knew.
So I got to meet Dexter for 1 year. I was at Westinghouse. I was the freshman coach. He was on varsity, but I also was one of the assistant coaches. And I just remember a nice kid, smiling always. When we needed somebody on defense, he was locking them up on defense. And when I heard that was Dexter that happened to, it just I just felt a certain way about it, because I don't think nobody needs to be shot at or shot 96 times. So that really touched me. But Dexter was a good kid, and I'm glad I got to meet Dexter.
He was locking them down on defense. That's Red West. That's what we do in the Red West. Portia, can you talk about what it was like? How did you find out that Dexter had been shot?
A detective had called me, but I didn't answer because I was getting ready for bed. And then they texted me, and they sent the picture of their card, and they said, "Can you please call me back?" And then when I answered, they asked me, did I have a brother? And I said, yeah, I have two brothers. And they said, is one of them named Dexter? And I said, yeah. And they said, where are you right now? And I said, excuse me, can you explain to me what's going on? And it was just like something in my heart, just right then and there, just told me that, you know, something wasn't right. Because I had talked to Dexter literally at 5:59 p.m., but I had seen him earlier that day at 3:45 p.m. at my niece's school. We all met there at the same time, basically to make sure that she was picked up by someone, because in the family it's me, my mom, her dad, which is my other little brother, or him. One of us will pick her up, and we all met there at the same time. It was just a coincidence. But they called me and they said, where are you? I need to speak to you. Can I come to you now? And I said, well, can you tell me what's going on? And they said, well, I'll come to you right now. And I just knew it just didn't feel right. I asked, well, where's Dexter? And they said, well, he at the hospital. And I said, at the hospital, is he all right? And they said, yeah, he all right. And I said, can I speak to him then? And they said, we'll just meet you at your home. And that's just something that, you know, you just know that something wasn't right, because why do a detective want to meet you at your home? If something happens to someone, they're going to explain to you what happened. You know, come down to the hospital or come down to the station to tell you what's going on with your loved one or something like that. It just broke my heart, and I just knew on my way to my mom's house already that it was something bad, because I was calling my little brother's phone at like 7:30 p.m., like constantly, trying to get him to open the door for opened the door to let my niece in the house, but he wasn't answering the phone. But he always answered the phone for me. Like, he always answered the phone for me. So for him not to answer, I'm like, okay, maybe his phone dead. But then when I put to my mama's house, his car wasn't there either. So I really didn't know. But I didn't want to think nothing bad. At the time, I'm like, okay, maybe he outside, maybe he at the gym, maybe he at the library. Dexter just goes to the gym, or he goes to the library, or he just ride around in his car for a little while. He do the same routine, you know. He don't be out in the streets, you know. He'll either just, you know, be at my shop, or be in the house, or be at the gym, or be at the library. That's literally where he spent all of his time at. And just, when I heard the news, it just broke my heart. It just broke my heart. Because it's literally just me and my two brothers. My mom and my immediate family right here. We really all we got. We have other family, but other people have a large group of family that we call family. But as an immediate family, it's just us. It's literally just us. Like, if it's a cookout or something like that, you know, it's just us. But we have a lot of support, you know, and a lot of love. But when the people leave, it's only just us.
This is extraordinarily difficult and really courageous of you to be able to come here and share these thoughts as you have. Grateful to your family for elevating this as well. Seems like the perfect time to introduce Reverend Chauncey Brown. Talk about what happens and what can be done in our souls and our spirits that keeps us together in a moment like this.
Absolutely. So family, I want to encourage you with the word of God. Psalm 34:18 says that God is close to the brokenhearted and he saves the crushed in spirit. And so when we look at this circumstance, when we look at our family, because oftentimes it doesn't hit how broken we are until it hits our house. How many times will we live this same story? How many times will we live with systemic oppression, systemic racism that is breaking the soul of Black America, breaking the soul of the Reed family, breaking our soul? What I recognize is that when we are broken is the perfect place for God to meet us and make us whole. It hurts like hell what we're facing as a family. It hurts, and I can't tell you how long it's going to hurt. But right now is where we look to see the salvation of the Lord through the voice of the people. This is where we must stand. This is where we must draw the line and say no longer will we settle for oppressive laws, practices that is breaking our community at a higher rate than any other community. And so what can I tell us to do? Look to the Lord and stand against injustice. We shall see the salvation of the Lord.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Trying to understand what happened in this case really gives us a context to which it happens in a number of cases that we've heard locally and that we've heard nationally, but nothing impacts it as much as it does in the household of those that we lose. And so again, thank you all so much for being here. Our thoughts, prayers, condolences, and all go with you. But we do appreciate your courage because this is a situation that we really have to deal with and try to stop it from occurring. And so when we come back, we'll talk about whether or not these are individual issues or is there a system that is working against us. We'll get into that when we come back right after this.
Sales goal is to inspire students to strive for excellence in education in spite of personal, family, and community challenges that they might experience. How do we do this? By advocating for educational policies that guarantee equal funding for all students without regard to race or economic standing. By engaging parents, students, and teachers in pursuing high-quality education and striving for educational excellence at every level. And by forging partnerships with community-based and public sector stakeholders in education. Now, Push Excel is a national model program with the purpose of connecting principals, parents, popular personalities, and students in a bond and to support students at every level on the educational ladder. Now, we want you to become a member of the Rainbow Push Coalition and Push Excel. Your annual membership can help us to change policies that impact students, colleges, and universities all around the country. So step up and sign up today. Membership is only $35, and if you're a student or a senior, $15. Just go to our website, rainbowpush.org, and push join to become a member or push donate to support the Push Excel program. You can also text the word Push Excel, that's PUSHEXCEL, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give us any amount that you feel comfortable giving or call us at 773-256-2775. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you. And remember to keep hope alive.
Welcome back. We're talking specifically about the killing of Dexter Reed and broadly the systematic killings of young black men and women throughout this country. The question is whether or not this is an individual situation that happens because of individuals, or is there a system that is harder on some than others? Andrew, I want to come back to you because this is a space where you operate. What are your thoughts on that?
So Rufus, in Chicago, there's a pattern and practice of abuse against black folks, especially on the south and west sides of Chicago. In 2017, the Department of Justice came to Chicago and did an extensive report about the police department. That report documented the pattern, and the document specifically with respect to tactical units abusing black people. So if you look at history, you have to think about John Burge and the Midnight Crew that terrorized Area 2 and Area 3. You have to think about Ronald Watts, who terrorized black folks in Chicago. You have to think about Ronaldo Guevara, who again tortured black folks in Chicago. There's a clear pattern and practice. We filed a lawsuit called Campbell versus City of Chicago that resulted in the consent decree against the City of Chicago. So right now, Chicago is under a consent decree related to the pattern and practice of abuse. These tactical units, whether it's in Chicago, killing your son, Dexter Reed, or if it's in Memphis, the Scorpion Unit, killing Tyree Nichols. It's happening all over the country. But here's what this superintendent and this mayor and this administration knows. There's a pattern and practice that has to be addressed. What happened to Dexter Reed was predictable based on the pattern, and there needs to be a commitment. I think that Dexter's case, Dexter's legacy, Portia, can be to stop other young black men from being shot and killed by the police.
We're joined by Frank Chaplin. He's the executive director of the Chicago Alliance Against Racial and Political Repression. Frank, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I've been involved in this. Can you hear me? Yes. Yeah, I've been involved in these struggles around police brutality and criminality. Well, before I say anything, my respect to the family. And yeah, it's a pattern and a practice for sure. I could talk about that in terms of what's happened in the last 50 years, because that's how long I've been in the struggle around this issue. I want to talk about what I saw, and then I'll talk about the pattern and the practice, all right? I looked at all of the videos, every last one of them that was made public. I saw the same videos that CNN cable network news saw. And it did not support the police narrative that we've been given. It did not. There were a lot of shots fired. But when Dexter Reed came out of the car, he was unarmed. Still shots are being fired. One side of that car is just riddled with bullets, and that's the driver's side. I looked at the other side of the car, and I only saw the window where there was apparently 2 bullets exit the window on the other side. That could have been police shooting. Could have been police shooting. I heard this officer, this white officer, saying, "Where's the gun? Where's the gun? Don't move," you know, using profanity and all of that. And then when the black officer finally reached down and moved his body over, there was no gun. Did y'all see that? There was no gun. See, CNN News said, Cable Network News said it was unclear, based on the videos that they saw, whether or not there was a shot fired out the window. It was unclear as to whether or not he had a gun. Now, a police officer said that there was a gun on the seat of the car, but we never saw that. You can look at all those videos and you're not gonna see that, you know. So, and then the superintendent of police says he doesn't want us to discuss this evidence. What are you talking about? You know, this was a police lynching, and what we want to see is something different. We don't want to see the same thing that we've been seeing for the last 50 years, more really for the last century. And that is the police making excuses for the police cleaning up for the police. They're doing this all over the country. In 2020, we had an uprising of 25 million people in the streets about this thing. And still, it doesn't seem like the government and those in power have learned anything from this, because they're not doing anything about it. So when is this going to stop? When we stop it. And if we say right now, I'm with you, brother, and if we say right now, then we need to stop it right now. And right now, we need all of those police that was at that scene, that was at the scene of that crime, they need to be stripped of their policing powers, right now. That's what COPA, the Civilian Office of Public Police Accountability, that's what they said that they wanted. And then the superintendent is saying, "Oh, I can't do that." Why can't you? Why can't you do it? You, the superintendent. He came in saying he was going to be different. He came in saying that it's going to be a new day in terms of us being able to hold the police accountable. Let's see that new day now. You know, don't tell us to wait. Don't tell us to wait no more, because we're tired of waiting. You know. So what are you going to do now? What you can do now is take those policing powers away from those police that committed this crime. That's what you can do now. And Kim Foxx can proceed to indict them and prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. What are we giving people? What are we giving people power for if they're not going to use it?
Amen
You know?
to that.
Yeah. We can't talk about the power that we got if we ain't gonna use it. And we ain't got but a little pinch. But we can't talk about that pinch if we're not gonna use it. Let's use the power that we got to make sure that the Reed family, the Dexter Reed family, get the justice that they deserve, and so with the rest of our community. Thank you.
So he's acknowledged that these same officers will be back on the street after tomorrow. I want to talk about that a bit, and let's talk about the community and how policing is happening in this community. Because what we saw in the videos were unmarked cars that aggressively pulled in front of the vehicle as all these things were happening. Andrew, you look at this, you look at policing, you see this often. I want you to comment on what that is like from your perspective. But first, From Coach and from Portia, what's it like in the area from a policing standpoint? Because I already know for most of us, when a police car pulls up behind us, we get a little bit nervous because we don't know how this thing is going to go. But what's it like in the community consistently?
In the community, first of all, it's illegal. So it's scary of them pulling in front of people, unmarked, no police clothing, regular clothes, hoodies on, jumping out, not stating, where's your license and insurance, asking the correct questions that should be asked, and then pointing guns at people. They're scared. It don't matter who it is. It don't matter if it's blacks. It could be whites. It could be Puerto Ricans. It could be anybody. It's scary. So how do anybody supposed to respond after that? As you see, they're confusing Dexter, letting his window up, letting his window down. He's looking over here to the left. He's looking over there to the right. He's trying to understand what to do. Should I let my window up? Should I let my window down? Should I open the door? I know Dexter had license and insurance. If they would have asked that and maybe gave him a chance to pull it out, it could have went a whole different way. Why do you need 5 officers to jump out of one car, number one? Then to everyone to pull their guns out. I don't want to talk either, me personally, because I don't know what is your next step. And I just want to know, why was he targeted? What's the real reason? It most definitely was not because they saying that it's his seatbelt. He have tints. So they need to come up with a better logic of where he pulled over. You saying that because it's tints. Because of no seatbelt. That's not right. That's false narrative. So what they're doing to people and they're coming up with the wrong answers, they need to be held accountable for what they are doing. It doesn't add up. It don't matter what took place after that. If you said Dexter shot, we need to see the evidence. We want to see the gun. Why you not showing the gun? You show everything else. You showing the family how he bled out. You're putting him in cuffs while he is already dead. I don't know if that's protocol. They say it's protocol. You're running up to one officer. You got 100 people running up to one officer that's shot in the hand, but no one is helping him. And the entire situation is just sad. The way it took place, how it started, everything about it. And they need to put a stop to it. And they're doing that in the 11th district, and that's just terrible. And that district over there is just not right. So if that's the officers that they have on that district, I don't know. Everyone should be, set out to understand what they're doing when they're pulling people over. Who's to say this situation happened, how someone's going to react when they pull them over? They might not even want to pull over anymore. So situation in hand, everything is just wrong, how it took place. Not what happened afterwards, that's even worse. But the way that it started off and the way that it finished, it just really should be brought to the light. And those officers, they need to be locked up.
Thank you. Let me come back to Andrew. Andrew, as you look at these cases from an attorney standpoint, and we talk about this consent decree that's been here, and when the consent decree came, it actually came after the task force that was run by former Mayor Lightfoot as the president of the police board. And what the Department of Justice told us was effectively what was in her report, that report, which was essentially what we already knew. And so when we come to today, and this happens as recently as it happened with Dexter, talk about where we are and what should be happening as it relates to the policing.
So it's like a bad movie playing over and over and over again. In 2017, the Department of Justice report said these tactical units are hunting young black men in our communities, brutalizing young black men in our communities. So they knew it was going to happen. the consent decree, which the city is less than 5% compliant, they're not following through on what we know is happening. So we as a community, and Mr. Chapman, I appreciate you so much, have to come together and make sure our mayor, Brandon Johnson, commits to the consent decree. We need to make sure our tax-paying superintendent, Larry Snellen, commits to the consent decree. I look at Nicole Banks, I look at Dexter Reed Sr., and I look at Uncle Randy and Portia. They lost a son and a brother. How can we keep letting this happen? We have to make Brandon Johnson commit to the consent decree, and we need, and Kim Fox, who I have much respect for, she needs to hold the officers accountable for what happened on March 21st.
And it brings forth tremendous concern to your point that these same officers will be back on the street tomorrow, which has to strike a level of fear in everybody's position while they're there, particularly because these are unmarked cars. You don't know who's coming up on you or who's not, or where they may show up or otherwise. Coach, talk about, you work with young people around that same area. Talk about what their experience is and what they feel from there.
So I had a kid that, at the school with me, because I also work at the school. Oh, excuse me. I had a kid with me that also worked at the school who felt the same way, because he said his dad had got pulled over by the police and he was scared. So I had to talk to him about, just making sure you're doing the right thing when the police is asking questions to your parents or whoever, and just don't make no sudden moves. He's like, sudden moves? I was like, that could be anything. Just don't make no sudden moves. Try to comply as much as you possibly can. Because it's a scary situation, and all kids feeling like that right now.
Yes, they are.
Let's go back to Frank. Frank, as you look at this, and you elevated the discussion here, and appreciate you for that. What are your thoughts? And I've sat in meetings with you with the police when similar things have happened before. What are your thoughts about policing, what's happened then, and what should be happening going forward?
Well, we had a movement going on, we still have a movement going on in this city that was really agitated into existence a long time ago by the murder of Fred Hampton, but most recently agitated further by the murder of Rekia Boyd in 2012. So it took us from that time until 2021 to get a law passed, empowering communities for public safety. And when we got that law passed, that law said that you, the people in the community, have an unalienable right to say who polices your communities and how your communities are policed. Okay? So for the first time in the history of this country, we gave our people here in the city of Chicago a democratic option to elect people to district councils in all 22 police districts. And they in turn appoint, with the mayor and the city council, they appoint a citywide commission on police accountability. And that citywide commission is now in place. That election took place 28th of February last year. So we have a mechanism set up to deal with this problem. This is a stress test to see whether or not that's going to work. It's a stress test, because we've been down this street before. We gotta quit talking about reform and make it happen.
Frank, let's hold it right there, because we're going to get more into the impact of this on the younger people in the community.
Can I just finish the statement?
We'll do that. Well, we got a break. Let's break, and we'll
let's
come
go
back
on TV.
after that.
Cell strives to be a world leader in promoting educational excellence and equity so that every child is guaranteed an opportunity to receive a quality education. We've awarded more than $10 million in scholarships year to date. And you can help young people achieve a higher education by donating to Push Excel right now. Wherever you are, you can support our students as we keep pushing for you.
Attention high school seniors and college freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. If you are in need of financial assistance, Push for Excellence offers a variety of scholarships for which you may be eligible to apply. Whether it's the Jesse Jackson Fellows Toyota Scholarship, the Cirillo McSween New York Life Scholarship, or the Oralee Sanders Scholarship, Push for Excellence strives to offer something for everyone. Here are just a few of our scholarship recipients.
Hello everyone viewing, my name is Chidi Osakwe.
Dominique Davis.
Julian Jones.
China Mazum.
Miles Chairman.
Jalen Clark.
Marcus Anderson.
Jaden Reed.
Kari Young. Ms. Megan Chu, and I'm a Cirillo McSween Scholar.
I want to take this opportunity to thank Reverend Jesse Jackson for all his support of my college education.
Thank you for all of Toyota for helping with Reverend Jackson with the scholarship as well.
I just want to take the opportunity to say thank you to Reverend Jesse Jackson for helping to make the scholarship opportunity possible for me.
As appreciative as I was before, I'm even more grateful now having received this scholarship.
Not only has it helped me out financially with paying for tuition, but it has also awarded me the opportunity to learn more about the Rainbow Push Coalition and their different initiatives in the African American community.
I'd like to say thank you to Reverend Jesse Jackson and the Rainbow Push Coalition for all the generosity and support that they've shown me throughout my undergraduate career and for the opportunity to pursue higher education.
For more information, please visit our website at www.pushexcel.org and click on the word scholarships. Thank you, and keep hope alive.
It keeps happening. Police killings of our youth, of our adults, of our people. Before we went to the last break, Frank, you were in the middle of sharing some thoughts. Continue, please.
You can't do this to me all the time. I'm getting old, so I got to remember what I said. I think I was talking about the citywide commission that we have set up.
You left saying there needs to be reform and accountability.
There needs to be, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And now that we have the mechanism for making that happen, there's no excuse for not using it. So what I want to see happen is I want to see the commission, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, and the mayor working together. And here's the twist. Working together to hold the superintendent of police accountable and the rest of the police department. And the rest of the police department. Don't keep asking the police to do the investigation, because they're going to say, we can't do nothing until the investigation has been completed. We know how long that can take. In the Laquan McDonald case, it took 400 days before we got the video. You know, so let's don't keep going for that. You know, what we supposed to have accomplished on February 28th of last year was to take this out of the police's hands, because we realized that what the police was doing, it was like the worm investigating its tail. You know, you're gonna find a worm. You know, so now we need the people commanding this. And right now, those instruments of our command is the commission, Civilian Office of Police Accountability, and the police board. And the FOP is trying to take all of those things away from us. So it's time to double down Dutch on this. You know, he needs to. See, instead of them telling us what we should do and what we see and what we don't see, we need to be telling them what they got to do. That's what community control of the police means. That's what democracy means. Because otherwise, we have a police state. You know, we got to tell them what to do. You know, quit waiting on them to come back and give us a report. We saw what we saw. Now you can't reinterpret that for me and tell me, well, you didn't see this and you didn't see that and you didn't. No. We saw what we saw. We saw a murder being committed. We saw a murder being committed, and we saw police officers doing it. And we want something done about it, period.
Thanks, Frank. We've got a few more faces, new faces joining us. Reverend Chauncey Brown is back, but we've also got joining us Cameron Barnes, who's the National Youth Director for Rainbow Push, and Kobe Williams, the Violence Interrupter for Noah's Ark. Let's talk about what's happening on the street and how this impacts youth. And Kobe, I want to come to you because you're out there. You see it, you deal with it, you try to help deal with some of the things that happen between us. But how do our youth react to these kind of situations?
First of all, I'd like to thank y'all for having me be a part of this panelist. I'd like to thank everybody. But I want to give my condolences to the Reed family. Right now I got chills. I mean, it's just, I've been on many panels and talked, but man, it's tough right now. I mean, to lose another brother like this, to violence by the police, the people who's supposed to protect the community. And we see it all over and over and over again. It's not getting better. So in the community, when we working with young people, trying to help them change their mindset, trying to do right and do that, but they are afraid, though. They are really afraid. So we do these one city tournaments with Joe King Noah Foundation, Noah's Ark, and we talk to young people all day. And if you're in the rooms with young people, it ain't so much that they worry about each other, they afraid of the law enforcement more than anything. Man, it's like we always gonna stay here. It's sad to say. So that's why it's important for us as, I'm talking about black people. We got to come together and do better for us. We got to educate our brothers, our sisters, our kids, our mothers. We got to do everything. We got to stick together, though. Yes, definitely. So I think it's just important for us to embrace young people much as we can and bring them together. Not judging them, not looking down on them, meeting them where they are. Because our young people is calling for help every day, And that's why we put the One City together, the One City tournament, to bring brothers and sisters together from all different backgrounds, all different walks of life. And we connected to 28 violence prevention organizations. Because we know we are one city, man. We got to all come together and be a part of this. We got to.
Cameron, pick up from there. Being the National Youth Director, what do you sense, what do you see, and on a broader scale, because this is not just Chicago that this happens. So what do you see and sense, and how do you react to that?
Let me first start by giving my condolences in regard to the Dexter Reed family. And that's not just a formality, but what's from the heart reaches the heart. And so if you don't have a heart, then you won't be able to feel this. But I've never seen someone in one room and their heart was in another room. And so let me first start by saying that, but I've had the wonderful privilege and opportunity to travel the country with Reverend Jackson. I've seen this way too many times. We saw it in Minnesota. We saw it with Tyree Nichols. We saw it with Breonna Taylor. We've seen this over and over and over again. It is not a badge of honor to go around standing with these families because we want to be at a press conference. That takes a toll on somebody. You ever lost somebody before? It takes a toll on them. But let me put this into perspective for this particular case. Dexter Reed, a 26-year-old black man in Chicago. Cameron Barnes, a 26-year-old black man in Chicago. I am him as he is me. And if this happened to him, what makes me so great that it would not happen to me? Not only here in Chicago, but all across this country, as we've mentioned. And I want to talk about two particular words: accountability and responsibility. First of all, we've got to hold these officers accountable. And it's not just these officers in Chicago. Again, Reverend Jackson has been doing this for decades, holding people accountable for your actions. The other piece is responsibility. You are responsible for the consequences that happen after you've made a decision. So I've talked to some young people, and some young people had the nerve to tell me that, well, Dexter Reed shot first. I said, well, let's look at the chronological order of this. Why was he stopped in the first place? Why did he have to, even if we're not going to demonize him for that piece? Again, 26-year-old black man in Chicago, in a residential area, in a vehicle, tinted windows. How would you feel when an unmarked vehicle with unmarked and ununiformed officers, we don't know that they're officers, he doesn't know that they're officers because they're unmarked, they're ununiformed. They get out, they approach him, guns drawn already. I saw all the videos. Guns drawn already for a routine, quote unquote, traffic stop because he ain't got no seatbelt on. What you need your gun for? Because I ain't got my seatbelt on. Now, if I ain't got my seatbelt on, I'm putting myself in danger, not you. So what you got your gun drawn for? And so we really have to look at holding them accountable and holding them responsible, because the questions that need to be asked is, how long were you watching him? What were you doing while you were watching him? What were you plotting while you were watching him? What was your plan when you went to pull him over and already had a gun drawn in the first place? Looks like you planned to do what you did.
Yes.
That's what it looked like to me. Now, I'm giving my personal opinion. You don't have to ascribe to such, but it looks like that to me. So, again, as I started as another 26-year-old black man in Chicago, then what does that do to our other young people who also have to go through the residential areas, who also have tinted windows, and who also may be verbally and physically accosted and turn to fear for my life? It's a split second between you and the other end of your life. And we have to put ourselves not in a sympathetic way, but an empathetic way. I want you to put yourself, as I've done, in Dexter Reed's shoes. I want those officers to put themselves in Dexter Reed's shoes. The fact that they should be, if I'm correct, what, after tomorrow, back on the street, what, Monday morning? That is unacceptable. That is absolutely unacceptable, because already they're back on the beat and they've not answered the questions that the community has as to why did you use this piece of power that you had. You swore to protect and to serve. Dexter was not protected. Dexter was not served. And so we have to, as a community, as a city, rally behind our young people, because now Dexter Reed has become yet another unnecessary martyr for the movement. We didn't need another one. I'm going to say that again. We didn't need another one. We've had too many martyrs of the movement under 30 years old. There are questions to be asked. There are answers to be given. And I don't think that we should rest until we get that.
Thank you so much for that. Before we go to our next break, talk to us about what One City actually does here.
So One City is an organization me and Joaquin Noah, former Chicago Bulls player, put together to bring the youth together. So Joaquin, if y'all familiar with him, he played with the Bulls. He retired, he relocated, but he say his heart was always still here in Chicago. So we was going around the community, the south side, the west side, different parts of the cities, talking to the youth. And they say, he just asking, what can he do? He really want to get back. So we started meeting with different groups. We started playing peace leagues, tournaments, and all that with a few teams. So me, I say Joe, and we talked about it like Chicago's so segregated. You really got to include everybody. So we connected with 28 violence prevention organization. Before we even did that, Joaquin Noah went to Springfield, and they gave him $2 million. And he said, I want to take this $2 million and pour it back all the way in Chicago. So what we do, we got 28 One city got 28 violence prevention groups, so it's 10 players on each team. Each player get $50 a game. We got coordinators on the west side and south side, they get paid. We got coaches and everybody get paid. So we started last year from May to August, and we started back up this year. It take place 2 Saturdays out of each month on the south side and the west side, like at Kenny King College. That's where it's taking place at right now, international sports on the west side. But not just so much of the money in basketball. Basketball is just a hook to bring people together. We got them going through workshops. We educate them about family literacy, building relationships, a lot of different workshops and all that. So before anybody shoot a hoop, they got to go through the workshop first, play basketball, then you get paid. Because we know it's important to do something different to get our kids something, man. Our kids need us more than anything. So we got to continue to do this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Let's take another break. When we come back, the question is, what are we going to do? There's a call to action. We need to move forward with purpose. What are we going to do? We'll be back right after this.
Thank you for joining us today. This is a wonderful program, and we hope that you're enjoying it. I ask that you go to rainbowpush.org and become a member and donate to the best of your ability. You know, this program costs, but could you imagine the cost without it? So we're asking for you to become a partner, to become a member of the Rainbow Push Coalition today and donate to the best of your ability. We're looking forward to providing you with more critical content for a time such as this. Go to rainbowpush.org or just scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen. And we'll see you next time at the Rainbow Push Coalition.
We're excited to get more people involved in Rainbow Push, supporting the programs of Push for Excellence and the Citizenship Education Fund. If you're interested in impacting public policies, if you believe in the scholarships that we give.
Tonight, the I-Team investigates a search switch by Chicago police, how CPD has replaced controversial pedestrian pat-downs with new and sometimes aggressive vehicle stops.
Our investigative reporter Chuck Gowdy's with us tonight. He's got new details and new I-Team data, Chuck.
Rob, tonight the I-Team has discovered a search switch by Chicago police, a tactical change in how the department tries to protect the public. For years, police relied on stop and frisk, the searching of suspicious people on the streets, sometimes critics said with little or no probable cause. Tonight, instead of those controversial people stops, data shows that vehicle stops have increasingly become the favored search tactic for Chicago police.
This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
Gary Lewis in front of his Southside Auburn Gresham home. Those are Chicago police at his car window. CPD officers stopping Lewis as he drove a loaner vehicle last spring. According to this police report, the dealer plates raise questions. Lewis says police suspected the SUV was stolen.
I gave him the loaner agreement, and he says this could be fake.
You refused 3 times to give us a driver's license.
I don't need to give you no driver's license. You had no reason to even come up on the side of me.
Okay.
What violation have I committed?
Lewis says he became aggravated, taking this cell phone video of an encounter that police told him was an investigatory stop.
They searched me, and they took my driver's license out of my wallet. So at that point, I thought it would end.
Instead, Lewis was arrested on charges of obstruction and failing to produce his valid license. Officers found nothing illegal in the car. After 2 nights in jail, all charges were dropped, and Lewis is suing the city, alleging an unlawful stop and search. The city hasn't responded, but civil rights advocates say this typifies a new police tactic deployed citywide.
Traffic stops are sort of the new stop and frisk.
And vehicle stops by CPD have surged since 2016, according to an analysis of police records by the ABC7 data team. 187,000 traffic stops citywide in 2016, soared to nearly 600,000 stops 3 years later, leveling off at 500,000 stops in the most recent figures. This memo from headquarters in 2020 reveals CPD commanders were being pushed to orchestrate more vehicle stops and searches to assist with the combat against violence. The present traffic stops are not sufficient.
The police aren't really interested in enforcing the alleged traffic infraction that was the, supposed basis of the stop. They're trying to look for evidence of illegally possessed guns or drugs.
They didn't find either in 2022 when Keith Griffin was pulled over for not wearing a seatbelt.
Because, okay, for one, you're nervous, you're shaking. Because I'm on my way to work.
Griffin, an Illinois corrections officer at Stateville Prison, was handcuffed by CPD but never charged. Griffin sued for an unlawful search, and the city agreed to settle for $37,000. His lawsuit, one of 24 suits settled in recent years, with payouts by taxpayers totaling almost $920,000. Tonight, according to an I-Team data analysis of nearly 2 million vehicles stopped during a 4-year period, police rarely found anything against the law. Only 4 out of every 1,000 vehicles stopped in Chicago led to the discovery of weapons and drugs or anything else illegal.
It's not an effective policing strategy to get guns off the street.
We need the right officers doing the right things and treating everybody equally in the city of Chicago.
That man suing, Gary Lewis, suing the CPD for the...
Welcome back. It keeps happening. It keeps happening in Chicago. It keeps happening all over the country. The question is, what are we going to do? We have black faces in high places, but we still have people being shot on our streets. So to the community, what are we going to do? We have joining us this morning Gary Lewis, who was illegally stopped by the police, filed a case and won. He started a not-for-profit called I Am Dad 365. And Marquin McDonald, WatchGuard Community Watch. Gary, let's talk about it from your perspective. What happened with you, and what do we do?
But what happened with me could have prevented this death from occurring. And on February the 21st, Chuck Yachty did a story at my house releasing the data, the statistics, the numbers of African Americans that's pulled over wrongfully by police. I don't believe any of the lies because they lied to me when I was pulled over. They told me that my license plates from a dealership, loaner vehicle, didn't come back to anything. How many times do the police get the lie? Who from the community stood up for me? Who reached out to me? Why are we disenfranchised? Why do we have to die in order to get some attention? Because I had to live with this person dying after my situation. My name is Gary Lynn Lewis. My name was derived from Gail Linda Sistrunk. She was taken to 51st and Wentworth for a misdemeanor, and they said she hung herself. This happened in 1989. You could not fight the police at that time. My mother fought to her death to get justice for my auntie it never happened. So when Chuck Gowdy came to my home from the incident that happened with me, I was in jail. I was placed in jail for 2 days due to the police lie. COPA stated that the officers knew that my license plates came back to Land Rover Hinsdale. I talked to my auntie while in custody, and she told me to fight.
Thank you so much for that. Let's talk with McQuinn McDonald from the Watch Guard Community Watch. What do we do and how do we stop these things from happening?
Well, first I want to say my condolences to the family. In 2019, actually in 2017, Watch Guard developed. The idea was for black men to get together and to patrol the community. At that time, if you remember in the news, there was a lot of reports of black women coming up missing, and they were finding black women in alleys and different things of that nature. And so violence was hitting the community in a whole total different direction. In 2019 is when we sort of took a break and we came back during the height of the George Floyd uprisings. And the goal for us was to watch not only community to de-escalate violence, but to do police monitoring as well. Because we do see it, we experience it. This can be completely avoided. The fact of the matter is that this city has been built upon and is predicated, drenched in violence. We are stuck in this space between competition and collaboration. And the fact is that we have community that want to collaborate. Everyone that's been up here has been talking about collaborating, working together, building a system of community, but that's not what happens. What happens is that we get stuck in a competition phase. Violence interrupters and violence prevention organizations that are out here doing the work, that are out here intentionally doing the work, try to work with law enforcement. But what happens is we kind of get into these silos. And what we do not recognize is we end up doing the same thing that we call the gangbangers doing. We gangbang organizationally, and the police department does it. And what we have to do is really come with a holistic solution and truly understanding that community is it. We have to get back to village. And so the goal for Watch Guard was to create a system of us to come and find a way for us to come together and make connections, create a system of connection so we can go out in the community, be each other's eyes and ears, and make connections with the community and intentionally build with our city and letting them know so we can take that power back for us.
So Cameron, given that, it seems like there's no better place than to pull all of these things together than where we are right now with this organization right here.
Absolutely.
Talk about what we can do.
We're Rainbow Push Coalition. A coalition is multiple units that are coming together for one common cause. Reverend Jackson made this mission to protect, to defend, and gain civil rights, level the economic and educational playing field, and to promote peace and justice around the world. That's the mission of the Rainbow Push Coalition. It's not big I's and little U's. If Reverend Jackson was up here, he'd say red, yellow, brown, black, and white. We are all precious in God's sight. And so also, and I guess I'm just going to use this time to just sit here and simply quote Reverend Jackson for the last 10 years that I've been with him. We've never lost a battle that we fought, but we've never won a battle unless we fought. Now, don't get hung up on that word fought or fight, because it is a nonviolent organization. So I'm not speaking about our fist or our weapons when we're talking about fighting. We're fighting policy change. We're fighting legislative change. We're fighting from the streets to the suites, because Reverend Jackson knows how to go in and get information, education, negotiation, if need be, demonstration to get reconciliation. That ain't Cameron. Don't clap for me. That's a Reverend Jesse Jackson idiom. So This is what we do here at Rainbow Push. We bring the people together so that we can fight in the most effective way. What that looks like for us is we coalition build together. This is a good-looking coalition sitting right in front of me right now. And we coalition build together. We then band together to fight to hold them, what did I say earlier? Accountability and responsibility. That's what we're fighting for. And so therefore, we fight by putting boots to the ground. We fight by holding people's hand to the fire. We fight by letting you know the same vote that got you in is the same vote that'll get you out. If you don't do what you were supposed to do, I can't stand some politicians that will go on the campaign trail, make so many different promises. I'm not going to name any names. You got a few in your mind already. I know it. And get into the position, and then they don't do what they were supposed to do, turn their backs on us. We have to come together, coalition build, and fight together because all of us have a fight to fight.
Perfect place to move it forward. Let's hear from Reverend Jackson himself.
Time to march. Today we're going to police headquarters at 12 o'clock. 12 to 1, we're going to have a prayer meeting. We're going to march today. Action, nonviolent direct action matters. You can't just keep discussing it because the body's on the line. Am I right about that? So we have BON as an outlet. We have the Rainbow Push as an outlet. So when we come in, we act. You feel protected because the community is going to respond. We organize the community to respond. So some of you who are here today, you have not acted before. Exactly. But time to act now. Yeah. Time to march. On March today, we should have the police board here. Police board can be here next Saturday morning. Police chief too. We have the power to have the police chief board here. We also have the power ourselves to march today. March today, the press will be there. We'll be on the news tonight. So you educate the broader community. We can't just keep complaining about what's happening. We have to act about it. All right about that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. How many of y'all gonna march today? How many of y'all gonna march today?
The question he asked is how many of you all are going to march today?
12 to 1.
12 to 1 at the police headquarters. Got a lot of hands up, Reverend. Got a lot of hands up.
Won't you join Rainbow Push? I believe in action. I'm in a wheelchair right now, Parkinson's disease, but my mind is clear and my will to fight is great. Yes. It's substantial.
Yes, sir.
So if you join the Rainbow right now, you join the Rainbow right now. Right now, join the Rainbow. Part of it. Next week we want to have police board here and have the police, the big brass here. You can have a meeting that Saturday morning, right?
Next Saturday morning.
Saturday morning, let's have an act. But today, if we out there marching, a couple of us out there marching, they'll be here because the mayor will have them here. The difference between Brandon Johnson and Rahm Emanuel, Rahm chose to conceal the McDonald problem. 400 days, he concealed it. And Brandon chose to
He chose to release the video.
Reveal.
Yeah.
So one guy revealed, one guy concealed. So let's take our case, police department, and take our case to the mayor today. All right. All right.
One guy reveals. One guy reveals, the other guy conceals. March today, police headquarters at noon. Let's take some questions. What's on your mind? Anyone?
Good morning. My condolences to the Reed family. How can non-Black communities support and walk alongside you in this fight?
Thank you so much for that question. You can support us and march along in this fight, because what happens to us will happen to everyone. And so join us. Join Push. It's a rainbow for a reason. It invites everybody in, and we need everybody because, again, if not us, it'll be you next.
Well, I walk to be able to talk, right? My name is Demetrius Nash. I walk from Chicago to the White House about gun violence. Laquan was the reason why I got out of my bed, right? So during the fight, I learned a lot of things when we was in the fight. A lot of people come, a lot of people gonna go. We all fight differently. We all fight from the way we fight. We can't beat each other up about the way we fight. I walk to be able to talk. You might go to your job and then give money. We all have to understand that we in a fight together, that's one. We not against each other. We all want the same outcome. We need to stop fighting each other, from whether it be organizations wanting money. If you got a plug for some money, you ain't the only one that can get the money for the organization. They have to give it so we can all get it. That's one. The second thing, I was thinking hard, and I'm a prayerful man, and I've been around Reverend Jackson, and just being around him and that influence, it made me think a little harder. So one day I came up, I say, well, why is it that the police has the only job where they do wrong, they get a settlement against them, but the people they wronged pay for the settlement? I'm like, well, they doing wrong and we having to pay for their wrong when they supposed to protect us. I say, how do we attack their money and their pension? How do we make them, their pension fund, pay a percentage? Not all of it, because all of them, not all of it, because all of them not bad. But I guarantee you, if the elders, if those older policemen have to get their pensions taken away, their money, they're gonna go in the ranks and make those youngsters get it together. Like when we was in the streets, we started messing up the money, the building got locked down, the big homies would come. So it's just like the police. The police we have in Chicago, we have community code, we have a street code, and we have a police code, and they don't tell on each other. So how do we attack their money to where they pay for a percentage of those funds that's coming? And I guarantee you they will police each other.
Appreciate that. Great thoughts, great solutions. This young man walked from here to Washington, D.C. to add information and input on this issue. Marquand, I want to ask you, from WatchGuard Community Watch, talk about what you're doing in the community.
So right now, we're doing several things. One, we are starting to do small goals where we are helping to build block clubs. And from building those block clubs, we're doing something that we're calling Operation Blockchain, where we link those block clubs. Just recently, my neighbor had her home burglarized. They took a firearm, several electronic equipments, her shoes. Within the hour, because of the block clubs, the neighbors, the village, and because of the organization and CPD, we all collaborated. We was able to get her belongings back within the hour because the neighbors, the young men went about a good 4 blocks ahead. But because we've helped start building block clubs and making those relations, neighbors from the comfort of their home, seeing through their ring cams, are like, no, they're here. And then what we did was, once those young men were apprehended and they were arrested, what we did was we went to also advocate for them. So what happens is, just to give a real quick story, in Halloween in 2021, we had a young man right here on Woodline, right on 48th and Woodline. He ended up drawing a weapon. We were able to de-escalate it, take the weapon from him. He was taken to the police. We also went to court for him. When we went to court, they were asking, why are you here? Like, you don't need to be here. We know he drew the weapon or whatever. He's like, no, you don't understand. We're here to advocate for him. And they were like, wait, but he drew the weapon. Y'all could have got shot. So they thought we wanted to bury him. No. We need to make sure that he's getting the resources that he needs so we can heal. He needs to understand the reason why he's doing what he's doing because he doesn't have any support. So that's one thing. That's one thing. We have to rethink and revision how we approach community and village. That's one. The other is we have a martial arts program and a mentoring program where we're working. It's called the We Got Us program, where we work with youth from 16 to 24 years of age. And then we have the Brothers in Growth program is from 8 years of age to 16. Right now, I'm a martial arts instructor. I teach martial arts. As a matter of fact, I'm dressed in my boxing equipment, my boxing gear, because when I leave here, there's a program called Boxing and Mental Health that I've partnered with an organization that does TMH Mental Health Services that does mental health for youth. So what we did was we took principles of boxing and martial arts, and we applied it to our youth, and we've had a young man who would be happy to tell his story. He was fighting every day in school. This young man, since starting the program, has not fought because we built the village around him and gave him the tools and resources that he needed. And which is why I'm happy that I'm here at PUSH, because that's what PUSH also provides. And so that's another program that we're doing. And then finally, we're upping our efforts in community patrol, and so we can continue monitoring the blocks and coming up with creative ways to counter violence. And last, we created a team to investigate violence as well, the root causes. So many people talk about gun violence, but what we don't hear in the news is educational violence, nutritional violence, economic violence. We need to also understand when those forms of violence get addressed, then you may start seeing a shift in the gun violence. So that's...
Thank you so much for all of that. It reminds me of a saying I heard from a great man. He said, "No one will save us, from us, for us, but us." Sir. That was Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. Young men, please.
Hello, good morning. Good morning. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Corey Phillips. This is my business partner, Ian Alphonse. And I would first want to give my condolences to the Reed family for everything that you're going through. We want to introduce myself, and we know you have our support. Ian and I are both youth ambassadors for Rainbow Push. We both have our own platform, so I specifically teach financial literacy to teens and young adults throughout the city, and Ian promotes marketing to teens, young adults, and our main thing with this is that we will be the people to help solve the issue because we see another young black male just like us, and we want to provide the value and support to other teens that they're not alone and that they can be empowered to do amazing things within the community. And with the aid of these organizations and Rainbow Push, that we can come together in promoting collaboration, having future leaders to be within the community to show that we are positive, we can do amazing things together, and that we have so much growth and so much opportunity moving forward, and showing us how we can create growth going forward, and that things will be getting better, and we will be a part of that problem to be solved.
If I may respond to that just really quickly, as the National Youth Director of the Rainbow Push Coalition, how many young people do you see on Saturday morning, well-dressed, well-versed, doing the work that is being done here in this city? The spirit of Dexter Reed can continue to live, as Reverend Jackson has often said, he'll live or she'll live, that person will live as long as we remember them. And not only do we remember them, but we invest in that legacy. And what Rainbow Push is doing is investing in not only this legacy of what we have to do for police accountability and policing justice, but we're talking about economic justice. We're talking about business justice. We're talking about justice that goes from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top. And hence why for us to continue having these conversations, this has been a very great conversation. Do you agree? I wish I had somebody that would clap for me. I'm a Baptist preacher. I want you to know if you agree or not. But we have to continue having these conversations before the next martyr happens to prevent another martyr from happening. We don't need another death at the hands of police, at the hands of other races, at the hands of anybody. We don't need another death. So we appreciate you all being a part of this conversation. To the Reed family and going through what they're going through, to take time to come out because they want to invest in justice. They're not going to be just another grieving family. They want to invest in justice. And so I thank God for you all for being a part. If you don't have an envelope, we're not asking you for a specific amount. We don't do that, but we want you to at least contribute so that we can continue having this kind of conversation and continue getting this kind of justice. Somebody, Miss Pam has an envelope. We're not asking you to put a certain amount in it, but we're asking you that if you want to pursue justice, if you want to be a part of this coalition, no, it doesn't cost, so to speak, to be a part of this coalition, but we want you to put your money where your mouth is so that Reverend and this coalition and this organization can continue doing what we are doing. Yes, freedom costs money. Freedom ain't free, as they say, but we want to continue going to where we don't have to have this conversation anymore. We want to have the conversation for the Dexter Reed of next year, not for why they were killed, but why they graduated early, why they went to college early, why they got a full ride scholarship. I don't really hear nobody that want to invest in some young people. We really want you to be a part of this organization. Rufus, I appreciate you.
No, appreciate that. Help push before you need push to help you. One more comment, please.
Hey everyone. I just wanted to come in and I want to say first to the Reed family, y'all don't know this, but I flew up here from Dallas because I found out about this and I was already understanding the criminal justice system and I figured it out. I'm Daniel Daly. I'm the Chief Federal Litigation Counsel for Kingdom Litigators. And I do have a question, by the way, so I know the rules. And the question that I was going over the last 20 years trying to figure out was what's wrong with the criminal justice system? And I heard a lot of comments today about the system that they're using and what is this oppressive system. But the issue with it is that it's slavery, guys. No. It's actually slavery, okay? What's the correlation between the police shootings and the criminal records? What do they say when they shoot somebody? He was a criminal. He was a criminal. He was a slave. They're shooting slaves. And what are you when they had it back in the day? They were slave catchers, right? What is a police officer? Now, I want you guys to hear me all the way through because there's a slavery justice here, okay? It's a whole wheel of slavery justice, and it comes down to the criminal records. How do we identify our slaves? How did it last 400 years? You needed to keep a record, right? How does a man pass down a slave 400 years? Through his estate. So then how do we keep slaves from out of there? We get criminal records that say, hey, you can't be a probate. So the criminal record laws say you can't do that, okay? So what we're talking about here, guys, is a serious, okay, I'll get over here. What we're talking about here is a system that's created because it's slavery justice, and where did it start? The 13th Amendment. You shall have no slavery except he be what? Duly convicted. Once we got you convicted, we own you. So this is what I'm going to say. How do we fix this? My question to the Rainbow Push. Why did they stop him? How are we going to fix that system? The slavery system, the slavery justice system. And I can tell you I've done my part because we've already argued our case a couple weeks ago in the 7th Circuit, so we will be seeing the Jubilee and the Great American Pardon Proclamation for all of the African Americans who are dealing with this issue.
We appreciate you and appreciate your work. Reverend Wilson.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. We thank all of you for your patience. We thank the Reed family for allowing us to pain with you, and we're going to work for you. Now, Reverend Jackson wants us to take action. There are 3 actions we normally take in these kind of situations. One, we're going to meet with the superintendent of police. We want our panelists to join us so that we can hear from Snelling and he can hear from us. We're going to also meet with COPA. We're going to also meet with these police boards. But on Saturday, come bright early on Saturday, right after the broadcast, we will march on the police station. We never marched on people, Reverend, according to how you taught us, without meeting with them first. So we're going to meet and march. Meet and march. And we're going to ask each of you, how many people in your organization? We want 30 from them. How many people in your organization?
I mean, we could get the youth out.
Get the youth. We want to march old and young. Red, yellow, brown, black, and white next Saturday. He's got an organization as well. I'm sorry, I'm coming down. How many you got? He got 5,000. So by next Saturday, we should at least have 250 here, 500 to meet us at the police station, Reverend. You ain't gonna march empty-handed. We're gonna have signs. Yes. All right? Y'all next Saturday, 35th in Michigan, we're gonna come here at 9:30. So we all on the same page. We ain't cussing anybody out. We're not talking crazy. We're gonna march with dignity, with Reverend leading us. We will have our signs, and we're gonna leave here, go to 35th and Michigan. If you can't come here, you're gonna meet us at where? 35th and Michigan. We'll be down there. We will have, all you men, we need y'all with your hats on, security looking, okay? Women, we're gonna be there strong, and we're only gonna have one leader. There ain't gonna be 50 leaders. We're all going in the same direction, saying the same thing. Y'all with me? Yes. Do not have Reverend out there by himself and me. Y'all with me? Yes. Everybody go and stand up. Yes. Well, y'all gonna go somewhere because we're gonna leave here. Thank you so much for your time and your patience.
We appreciate all of you for being here this morning, particularly to the Reed family. Our condolences.
Hold on. Shh. Don't come up here yet.
Our condolences, and thank you so much for your courage in continuing this push and continuing this fight. We pray for you every day. Reverend Jackson, thank you so much for leading the way and giving us a space, place, and opportunity to do this. And all the panelists, thank you all for your time, your effort, your energy in being here with us this morning.
All right, very quickly, can we bow our heads in prayer? Our Father and our God, we thank you that we know you in times like these, but more importantly, we're grateful that you know us. You've not forgotten us. You still know our name, and you still know what you're doing. And so now, Lord, lead us into the future. There are some dark days, uncertain days ahead, but we trust in you that you're still sitting high, looking down low. You know what you are doing. Shine through us, live through us, and we will forever give your name all the glory, all the honor. We magnify you bigger than every problem that keeps us up at night, that keeps tears in our eyes, that keeps confusion in our hearts. We magnify you. We thank you. We love you and lift you. In the mighty and matchless name of the one who created us all, we thank you. Amen.